Do penguin. For tomorrow, prepare today. Download the app now. App link in the description below. Okay, now we are going to be working on creating the snakehead and making it move around the screen as you can see so far. We've got a window that is 600 by 600 pixels. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to first create the actual snakehead using a turtle object, and the turtle is going to be a square. We could do triangles and kind of make it turn, but let's just keep this simple because this is for beginners, and I'm going to give it a good name like head, and I'm going to call it turtle.turtle. And again, notice the capitalization here. This is a small t, this is a capital T, and that will actually create the turtle. Now, when we create the turtle, we have to give it a few properties. The first property is speed. Let us keep the speed 0, and this is actually not the actual speed that's going to move on the screen. It is the animation speed of the turtle module, and so we want to set that to 0 because that is the fastest animation speed. Next thing is we're going to give it a shape, and I'm going to make it a square again. Notice capitalization here. We'll give it a color, and I'm going to make mine black. You can make yours whatever color you want. The thing about turtles is that they draw lines. That's what they were kind of designed to do originally, but we're using the turtle model module in a different way. So what we're going to do is, we're going to put the pen up so that it does not draw anything. And when the head starts, we want it to be in the center of the screen. So we are going to type in the following command to keep the head in the center. The direction is going to be stopped. So when it starts, it is going to sit there in the middle. So now, what I have to do is I'm going to make the main game loop down here. I use a true loop, and what this does is it just repeats over and over and over again. Now you'll notice we are using tabs, and we type in WN update. So what that does is every time through this loop it updates the screen. So, again, before I move on, I'm going to test it again. I'm using Visual Studio Code. I'm doing this on Windows, but it should work on Mac and Linux as well. So run the Python file in the terminal. And if you look, there is a black turtle, and static in the center. Okay, so we've got our head on the screen. So the next thing we need to do is to make it move. So I'm going to make a function for this turtle. I'm going to call those functions. So I make a new function and call it move. That's what I want the turtle to do. And notice everything here is indented. So I'm going to say if head.direction equals up. There are only 4 directions up, down, left, right. I'm going to take the current y coordinate. So this is going to be a new variable called y, and it is the y coordinate of the variable. And I'm going to say head.set y plus 20. So when my turtle starts, its y coordinate is 0, so the first time I call the move function, if the head direction is up, it'll move up by 20 each time. Now, I copy-paste this line of code to set the code for remaining directions. For down, we set the y coordinate to -20. For left and right directions, we use x coordinates. For left we set 20 minus in x coordinate, and for right we set 20 plus to x coordinate. Now if you recall, I set the initial direction to stop. Now to make the head move, we have to call the function we have defined. I defined the function here, but to actually use it, you have to call it, and now I want to call that every time through the loop. So I'm going to say move. Now, there is something that we shall bring to our notice. The loop is so fast that the turtle moves off the screen faster than we could actually see it. So we're going to actually need to add a little delay in time. And to do that, we're going to use something called the time module. So I'm going to go back up to here, where I'm doing my imports, and import time. And then we're going to create a delay. I'm going to start with a delay of 0.1 seconds. Okay, now on my computer that works pretty well. Your computer might run at different speeds. You have to play with that a little bit. So I go down to the main loop. I'm going to type in time.sleep delay. So the delay is 0.1 seconds. Now the next thing I need to do is to make some functions so that we can actually change the direction of the head. So what I would do is I'm going to say I make a function. Let's say def go up, and then set the head direction equal to up. We follow the same method for remaining directions. We have got down, left and right. All 4 directions covered. Now to make this work as a game on screen we have to do keyboard bindings. What keyboard bindings does is it connects a keypress with a particular function. So to make this work, we type in wn.listen. So we're typing the window to listen for clicks or for key presses. So we type in wn.onKeyPress. Go up and then we type in the key we want to use for it to go up, which in this case is W. And we repeat the same method for other directions. For down key, we use S, for left we use A and for right we use D. Now let's run the code and see if it is working. Our code is working as expected. Let us continue with the session. Now before we make the snake body, we have to make the food. So making the food is very simple. We're just going to create a new turtle. And so we'll just call that food. You can call it apple or whatever. Now, I set properties of food. I set the speed to 0. Set the shape to circle. Color to light blue. Also, change the head color to white. Use pen up so that it does not draw lines. And set the location of the food above the y-axis. So let's run that and see what it looks like. Okay, so I got my food. So all we got to do is we've got to figure out what if the snake head and food collide. In such case, we would want food to jump to a random location. So I'm going to go down here. I want to do this in the main loop. And so what I do is I'm going to say if head.distance to food is less than 20. There is a built-in function to measure the distance. So if the distance is less than 20 we can say that they have collided. And if collides, what we want to do is to move it to a random spot on the screen. So I'm going to use something called the random module. So I have to go back up here and import that. What the random module does is it lets us choose random numbers. It's very convenient. So I'm going to say x equals random.randint. Now if you recall our screen was 600 by 600 so the center is 0, 0. So top, bottom, left and the right border is 300. So I'm typing in minus 290, so it doesn't go off the screen, to plus 290. And also, y equals random.randinteger minus 290 to plus 290. And I type in food. Go to x, y. OK. So let me test that and see what happens. OK, so I want to make sure my collisions are working. Alright, so I think it's working exactly as we expected. If you liked what you are watching, then go ahead, like the video, hit the subscribe button and bell notification icon.